The first banks weren't run by humans. They were run by gods. Or at least, that's what the world's first civilization claimed. 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, temples weren't just places of worship. They were economic powerhouses. They owned half the land, controlled most wealth, employed thousands, ran sophisticated banking operations, and they did it all in the name of deities who demanded profit. But here's the disturbing truth. The gods weren't real, but the wealth extraction was. This is the story of history's first economic scam. How priests convinced an entire civilization to work for invisible masters. How religion became the world's first corporate structure. And how gods were used as the ultimate offshore tax haven. What the Mesopotamian temples created wasn't just religion, it was the blueprint for every economic system that came after. Banks, corporations, taxation, wage labor, debt slavery, all of it. And the crazy part, it worked for 3,000 years. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will change how you see religion, money, and power forever. 3500 BC, Uruk, Mesopotamia, the world's first city. Someone has a problem. Farming has gotten so productive that not everyone needs to farm. You have surplus, extra grain. But what do you do with it? Store it. Where? How do you protect it from theft, rats, rot? Trade it, with who? For what? How do you ensure fair exchange? And here's the bigger problem. How do you organize large numbers of people to do big projects? Dig irrigation canals, build walls, construct granaries. In a village of 50 people, you just ask. Everyone knows everyone. Social pressure works, but Uruk has 50,000 people. You can't coordinate that through personal relationships. You need something else. Something that commands absolute authority. Something people will obey without question. Enter the gods. Now, every society has gods. But Mesopotamia does something revolutionary. They make the gods property owners. Each city has a patron deity. In Uruk, it's Inanna. And here's the key. Inanna doesn't just get prayers. She gets assets. The priests declare, this land belongs to Inanna. This grain is Inanna's property. These sheep are Inanna's flock. And since Inanna is a goddess, she can't manage her property herself. So the priests manage it for her. Brilliant. The priests now control vast wealth. But they're not the owners. The goddess is, so nobody can challenge them without challenging the deity herself. This is the world's first corporation. The goddess is the shareholder. The priests are the board of directors. And everyone else is labor. But it gets more sophisticated. The temple doesn't just own land. It operates it as a business. They employ hundreds of workers. Farmers, shepherds, weavers, brewers, bakers. These aren't slaves. They're employees. They work set hours. Get paid in rations. Grain, beer, oil, cloth. The temple keeps detailed records. Clay tablets listing every worker, their role, their payment. It's payroll accounting from 3500 BC. And here's what's fascinating. The temple operates at massive scale. They're managing 1,000 plus workers, processing tons of grain, running multiple industries. This requires bureaucracy, accounting, management, hierarchy, quality control. The Mesopotamian temples invent business administration. They create the world's first HR departments, accounting systems, inventory management, production quotas. But they're not doing this for profit in the modern sense. They're doing it to feed the gods. Every day, temple workers prepare elaborate meals for the deities. Roasted meat, fresh bread, beer, fruits, honey, the best of everything. The food is placed before the god's statue. Prayers are said. Then, after the god has eaten, the food is distributed to the priests. Think about this system. Workers produce food. It's given to the god. The god doesn't actually eat it. So the priests eat it. The priests have created a system where they get the best food every day, justified as divine necessity. And the workers accept this. Why? Because they believe the god really does need feeding. That if the god isn't satisfied, disaster will follow. But here's where it gets darker. Because the temples don't just take food. They take everything. By 3000 BC, Mesopotamian temples control approximately 50% of all agricultural land. Half of everything produced goes to the gods. How did this happen? Donations. When people prosper, they give offerings to the gods. Thank you for the harvest. Thank you for my son's recovery. Thank you for rain. But here's the thing. Land donated to gods never comes back. It's eternal. Once the temple owns it, they own it forever. So, generation after generation, more land flows to the temples. It's a one-way accumulation of wealth. And the temples are tax exempt. They don't pay the king. They claim divine exemption. This creates a fascinating economic structure. The temples are basically a parallel economy, operating under different rules than the secular sector. But they don't just accumulate land. They start lending. Here's how it works. You're a farmer. Bad harvest. You need grain to feed your family. Until next season. Where do you go? The temple. They have massive grain reserves, and they'll lend to you. But there's interest. 33% annually for grain loans. 20% for silver loans. These are crushing rates. But what choice do you have? It's the temple or starvation. So you borrow. And if you can't repay, your land becomes temple property. Your children become temple workers. You've been absorbed into the divine economy. This is debt slavery. But it's justified as serving the gods. And here's the genius. Because the lender is a god, you can't negotiate. The terms are divine law. Interest rates are set by heaven. There's no bargaining with deities. The temples have created the perfect creditor. Invisible, unchanging, unyielding. By 2500 BC, debt to temples is the primary cause of social inequality in Mesopotamia. Free farmers are becoming indebted laborers at alarming rates. Kings start noticing this is destabilizing society. So they periodically declare debt jubilees. All debts to private creditors are cancelled. Everyone returns to their ancestral land. But debts to the gods, those remain. Because you can't forgive what you owe to heaven. The temples have exempted themselves from debt relief. They've made their loans eternal. But here's where the temple economy reveals its true sophistication. They're not just lending grain. They're running what we'd call a central bank. The temples start issuing silver as a medium of exchange. Not coins yet, just weighed silver. But they standardize the weights. Create quality standards. Establish exchange rates between silver and grain. They're creating currency. And because temple silver is trusted, it becomes the basis of all trade. Think about what this means. The temples now control land and agricultural production labor through employment and debt, the money supply through silver reserves, interest rates through lending policies there, a complete economic system, all operated in the name of gods who don't exist. But here's the question. Did the priests believe in the gods, or were they running a scam? The answer might shock you. Here's what archaeological evidence reveals. The priests knew exactly what they were doing. Clay tablets show priests manipulating god oracles to justify economic decisions. When the temple wants to acquire land, suddenly the god speaks through divination, saying this land must belong to him. When they want to raise interest rates, the god demands higher offerings, requiring more aggressive lending. The god's will mysteriously aligns with the temple's economic interests. Every single time. But here's what's brilliant. The priests created a system where questioning them means questioning the gods. And questioning the gods means death. It's the perfect protection. The business model is legally and socially unassailable, and the returns are staggering. Temple records show some temples operating with hundreds of tons of grain, thousands of sheep, dozens of workshops producing textiles, beer, metalwork. One temple in Lagash employs 1,200 people. Another in Yor has assets worth millions in modern dollars. These aren't religious institutions. These are massive economic conglomerates, using religious authority as their corporate charter. But the system has a problem. Secular kings are getting jealous. By 2300 BC, kings start challenging temple power. They tax temple lands, confiscate temple assets, install their own priests. The king of Lagash passes laws limiting temple control over free citizens. The king of Akkad seizes temple silver to fund his armies. This sparks a conflict that will define Mesopotamian history. Kings versus priests. Secular power versus religious power. Political authority versus economic authority. And it's not really about religion, it's about money. The kings see the temples as a tax shelter. Wealthy people are donating land to gods to avoid royal taxation. The temples are accumulating wealth that the king can't touch. From the king's perspective, temples are an economic threat. They're running a parallel state within his state. But the temples fight back, and their weapon is ideology. They start promoting the idea of divine kingship. The king isn't just a man. He's chosen by the gods. He rules on their behalf. But therefore, he must serve them. This is genius. They've co-opted the king's authority by claiming it comes from their gods. Some kings accept this. They become temple patrons, fund massive building projects. In return, the priests legitimize their rule. Other kings reject it. They claim direct divine authority. They're not servants of the gods. They are gods. This is why Mesopotamian kings start declaring themselves divine. Not from ego, from economics. It's the only way to match the temple's authority. But here's the fascinating part. Whether kings accept or reject temple ideology, the basic economic structure remains. Society is organized around invisible owners, gods or divine kings, whose property is managed by elite administrators, priests or royal bureaucrats, who extract surplus from workers, justified as divine necessity. The personnel change. The system doesn't. And this system spreads. By 2000 BC, the Mesopotamian temple economy model has spread across the ancient world. Egyptian temples owned 1/3 of all land. They employ 100,000 plus people. The god Amun-Ra's temple is wealthier than the pharaoh. Greek temples at Delphi and Delos function as banks. They hold deposits, make loans, exchange currencies. Roman temples operate similarly. The temple of Juno Moneta becomes Rome's official mint. Money comes from moneta. Chinese ancestor temples manage family wealth for generations. Japanese shrines control vast estates. Everywhere civilization develops, temples become economic institutions. Why does this model work so universally? Because it solves a fundamental problem. How do you create permanent institutions in a world of mortal humans? Individuals die, families rise and fall, businesses fail, but gods are eternal. By making gods the property owners, temples create immortal corporations. The assets never get divided among heirs. The mission never changes. The institution never dissolves. This is what modern corporations do with legal personhood. The company is eternal. Shareholders come and go, but the corporation continues. Mesopotamian temples invented this concept 5,000 years ago, and they invented something else. The idea that institutions serve abstract principles rather than human interests. The temple doesn't serve the priest's interests. It serves the god's interests. The fact that priests benefit is incidental. Modern corporations don't serve executives' interests. They serve shareholder value. The fact that executives get rich is incidental. Same structure, different language. But here's where it gets disturbing. Because the Mesopotamian system also invented wealth extraction justified by ideology. Workers labor for the gods. The surplus goes to divine projects. The priests live well, but they're just humble servants of heaven. Workers labor for the company. The surplus goes to shareholders. Executives live well, but they're just serving stakeholder value. The psychology is identical. Create an abstract authority figure. God shareholder. Claim you serve them, not yourself. Extract wealth as necessary service to the abstract authority, and most people accept it. Because the abstract authority seems more legitimate than human authority. Nobody wants to work to make priests rich, but working for the gods. That's sacred duty. Nobody wants to work to make executives rich, but working for the company. That's professional responsibility. The Mesopotamian temples discovered that people will accept exploitation if you frame it as service to something higher than humans. This is the most important economic innovation in history. More important than money. More important than banking. It's the discovery that ideology is the ultimate economic tool. Pull up your company's mission statement. Read it. Creating value for stakeholders. Serving our customers. Building a better future. Beautiful words. Inspiring rhetoric. Abstract principles. Now ask, who actually benefits? The Mesopotamian priests said they served the gods. But they ate the sacrificial food. They lived in luxury. They controlled vast wealth. Modern executives say they serve stakeholders. But they get the bonuses. They live in luxury. They control vast wealth. Same system, different marketing. And we accept it for the same reason ancient Mesopotamians did. Because questioning the abstract authority feels wrong. You can't argue with gods. They're sacred. Similarly, you can't argue with shareholder value. It's the purpose of the corporation. It's baked into the system. The Mesopotamian temples showed that the best way to extract wealth is to make the extraction seem inevitable, natural, divinely ordained. But here's what's really happening. In both cases, a small elite has convinced everyone else that wealth should flow upward to abstract entities that benefit the elite. The gods need offerings. So surplus goes to temples, which enriches priests. Shareholders need returns. So profits go to dividends, which enriches executives. The mechanism is identical, and both systems create massive inequality. In ancient Mesopotamia, temple economies led to extreme wealth concentration. By 2000 BC, most free farmers had become dependent laborers. Today, same pattern. Wealth concentrates, the middle class shrinks. More people become dependent on wages from institutional employers. Different era, same trajectory. But here's the most disturbing parallel. Mesopotamian kings eventually realized temple wealth was destabilizing society. They tried to reform it, limit temple power, redistribute land. It never worked, because the ideology was too powerful. People genuinely believed the gods deserved their wealth. Reform seemed like sacrilege. Today, people realize corporate wealth concentration is destabilizing society. They try to reform it, tax corporations, regulate finance, redistribute wealth. It barely works, because the ideology is too powerful. People genuinely believe shareholder value is sacred. Reform seems like economic suicide. We're trapped in the same system the Mesopotamians created. We've just replaced theological language with economic language. But the structure is identical. Abstract authority figures, gods, shareholders, elite intermediaries, priests, executives, surplus extraction justified by ideology, permanent institutions accumulating wealth, workers accepting it as natural order. The Mesopotamian temples didn't just invent religion. They invented the blueprint for hierarchical wealth extraction that persists today. And the genius of it is, most people don't even see it. Because when you grow up in the system, it just seems like how things are. Ancient Mesopotamians couldn't imagine a world without temple economies. The gods had always owned land. That was just reality. We can't imagine a world without corporate economies. Shareholders have always demanded returns. That's just reality. But both are human constructions. Both are choices. Both could be different. So here's what the Mesopotamian temples really teach us. The most powerful economic tool isn't money or technology. It's ideology. For 3,000 years, temples convinced people to work for gods who didn't exist. They extracted massive wealth, created extreme inequality, built permanent institutions, and people accepted it. Not because they were stupid, because the ideology was compelling. Service to the gods felt meaningful, better than serving human masters, better than naked exploitation. Today, we serve corporations, markets, economic growth, different gods, same psychology. We accept wealth extraction because it's framed as service to abstract principles: shareholder value, market efficiency, economic necessity. But here's the question: are these principles any more real than Mesopotamian gods? Shareholders are real people, but shareholder value as an abstract principle, that's ideology. It's a choice to organize society around one goal among many possible goals. Markets are real phenomena, but the market as a sacred force, that's ideology. It's a choice to treat economic outcomes as inevitable rather than as results of human decisions. The Mesopotamian priests created gods to justify their wealth. We've created economic principles to justify ours. Different language, same function. And just like Mesopotamian temple economies eventually collapsed under their own weight, our current system is showing cracks. Inequality is destabilizing democracies. Wealth concentration is creating social unrest. The ideology is losing its power. The question is, what comes next? Because here's the thing about the Mesopotamian system: it lasted 3,000 years. That's longer than any modern economic system has existed. Maybe the lesson isn't that their system was wrong. Maybe it's that all economic systems are temporary. All ideologies eventually fail. All structures of wealth extraction eventually collapse. The Mesopotamians built their economy on gods. We built ours on markets. Both seemed eternal to the people living in them. Neither are. What do you think? Are we living in a temple economy with different gods? Drop your thoughts in comments. Because 5,000 years ago, someone looked at a statue and said this god owns land, and everyone believed them. Today, someone looks at a spreadsheet and says shareholders own the company, and everyone believes them. Same story, same power structure, same wealth extraction. We just call it something else. The Mesopotamian gods were the world's first economic fiction, but they won't be the last. The question is, what fictions are we currently believing?